Hello, everyone. This is part two. So, the same outfit counts for a reason. I wanted to get you guys 2 episodes on back to back weeks. So, I'll give you something on Thanksgiving and then something right after, when you have to go back to the bullshit you normally deal with. So, this is the second part of the Thanksgiving special, I guess you can call it. But, yeah, welcome. I'm Chance. We're listening to A Chance to Strive. Let's get it. But one thing that I wanted to say is I was doing a project on CEOs, and I've heard a lot of CEOs talk about hardships and problems. They're not a bad thing. They're one of the best teachers you can have. And I completely believe it. There's a lot that I don't read as much as I used to, which I will get back into in terms of just reading psychology and learning more about people and individuals. Once you get good at something, at times you get a little bit stagnant because it's how much more can I learn? Not saying I'm really good at these things, but in terms of for what I need right now to be this version of myself, I don't need as much of it. 2 years down the line, I will need probably twice as much as I know now. But it's just right now. But yeah, it was a CEO. It was a CEO of Spotify. I think his name is Daniel Ek. I called him Daniel Elk for a while when I first heard his name. I struggle with names. It's not something I'm ever gonna lie to people about. I have to be around it for a few months for me to remember your name. The part of my brain that remembers people's names, I don't think it works at all. It's one of those things where I really do have to get lucky to know some people's names. I know some people throughout my 4 years of college, right, who I met freshman year, and I don't know their name currently. They know my name. My freshman year had a big thing where I was kind of people would call me, yo, what's good, Chance? I'm like, what's good, my boy? And it seemed like it was a very calm response. It was kind of lit. But the whole reason why I said that is because I didn't know nobody's names. And it's not that I don't care to know. I just always feel embarrassed to ask because it's you remembered my name like it was nothing. So now for me to have to ask you what your name is multiple times, I know people would get annoyed, especially if you remembered my name on the first attempt, which isn't really that fucking hard if it's Chance. So that's not something I'm very proud about. Well, not very happy about. That I have a name that's so easy to remember, but I can't remember nobody else's names. If you take my government offense, where the fuck do you hear that? If you can say it in your head a few times, it may stick. Because it's not something you hear all the time where you're oh, is it this? Is it that? Is his name Connor? Is it... I don't know that many names I saw received, so I'm not going to lie, but so I'm not even going to try that. But, yeah, Daniel Ek, he mentioned the fact that it's you should celebrate problems. When something happens, it's an opportunity to create value. So, as much as I do know about certain topics, there were times where I had to experience something before I could actually apply it. I knew what I'm okay, if you're dealing with someone and you kind of let them walk over you, let them choose you at times, they're not going to respect you as much. They're not going to make a priority out of you. You're just someone that's convenient. They'll come and go as they please because they know you're not going to go nowhere. I knew this, but I ended up having to deal with somebody that I love so much where I knew something and I knew this was the truth, this was the gospel, but still I wasn't able to walk away. I let that person come and go as they wished. Whenever I wasn't that convenient, they'd break up with me and they'd come back to me whenever things are probably getting hard or their life isn't as happy anymore. Once they've had their fun, they came back. And of course I was come back to Papa, I come back, I'm still show you this love. But for me, what I had to realize was just I had to make sure that I was a priority in people's lives that I made a priority of. So there's no reason why I'm stressing over this person, even when I'm not talking to them, but then the only thing they're worried about is having fun, doing X, Y, and Z. And if I have time to talk to Chance to say something to Chance, then I will. And I hate the fact that that's how things went, and that's the reality that I actually had to live. I had to have someone do all of this shit to me to understand just how much I need to make sure I'm a priority to people that I decide to invest my time in. The people that I choose to love, they can't be people that find you convenient. And I did deal with that shit, even though I knew it. So it's one of those things where it's this became a problem because I was heartbroken. I felt like I was nothing because this person constantly would walk over me and then I would just let it slide because of the amount of love that I had in my heart for them. But I never sat there to question, why can't they make me that big of a priority in their life? Why can't I be just as important to them? And the reality of it is some people just don't care about you as much. Or at times you have more of a capacity to love than other people. And I'm not saying it's something wrong with that. At times it's not that person's fault based off their upbringing. But it's also not your it's also like it's not your place to be Captain Save-A-Ho and put your pride in your value to the side just so you can maintain your love for this person that's not even offering as much as you're offering. I get it. At times somebody can give you their all and it doesn't match up to your all, but at least you know everything they got is being invested into you. They're giving it all. But what happens when, even if it did happen and they invested their all, it would still be like this, right? It would still be something that's very uneven, nothing close. But what happens when their best isn't nowhere near your best, but they still choose to give you less? Then at that point, you're just disrespecting yourself and your self-worth. And for me, my self-worth was affected a lot by allowing someone to pick and choose me whenever they wanted. It's not something that I should have ever done. But when you love deeply and carelessly, you find yourself in situations that are hard to let go of, but situations that are very demanding of your energy, and it degrades your self-worth. And it's just not something that I think anybody should do. The idea that you have to allow yourself to be belittled or belittle yourself just to match up to someone's importance. I don't know. It just didn't sit well with me, so I had to learn a lot about that, where it's like, and the way that I learned was, right, and this is the part about knowing, but I still try to apply things. I told myself, I know if this doesn't get bad enough, I'm probably going to go back. I'm probably going to give that person another chance. Why? Because it's like, I'm strong. I can burden all this. You see my shoulders, they're very broad shoulders, you know? It's like all these little things, I can deal with it. I can fix this person. That was my thing. It's like, I believed. Like when I tell you my friends used to call me Captain Save-A-Ho, it's because I believed I could fix people. Until I had to get hit with the reality, a little reality check, which was people aren't necessarily going to change for you. They will change when changing is a decision that they make. And that decision is based off them, not you. Because I realized something, when you do change for somebody else, it's very hard to maintain that change. Changing in general is hard, and you're trying to do it for you, your future, your career, sometimes maybe like your family, your future, all right? Even that's hard. So imagine doing it for someone that's one day going to give you 100% and one day going to give you 20%. One day they're not going to choose you. The next day, they may think about calling you. Or if nothing is going great, they want to be around you all the time. I've had to deal with that shit so much, where I used to think somebody wanting to be around me all the time was such a beautiful thing, right? I think a lot of us do this shit, and a lot of us kind of like mistake that, where, oh, they're always around, you know, they're always trying to make plans. Sometimes you're just convenient. You're not important at all to these motherfuckers. Like, you're not important. They don't value you because they can replace it with the next person if they find someone that has similar qualities, which means they don't prioritize you for what makes you great, for what makes you important. They prioritize you for what they can get out of you. Yeah, if I say we go out, you're probably going to pay the bill. Somebody else out there will do that. But because you do it, they don't have to look anywhere else. This is like, fuck it. At times I had people where they were around me constantly and like, I'm happy as shit. I'm like, oh, she always wants to be around me, everything like that. But she's depressed. I'm not trying to laugh at the fact that someone's depressed, but it's the irony of it, where it's like someone not feeling so good about themselves is the only reason why they care about you. Where if they started feeling great, their life started changing, they started stacking up money, they started being able to explore more things, they're learning, they're making a lot of progression, that person does not care about you. That version of them does not prioritize you. The version of them that is depressed wants to be around you 24/7. Why? Misery loves company. When they're around someone, they get to focus on themselves a little bit less. And if you're someone who talks a lot, you have a lot to offer. Oh, if I'm around this person, I can get a lot of advice from them. Not because once I'm a better person, I'm gonna be thankful for them, but because once I'm a better person, I don't gotta give a fuck about them no more. I can just keep on pushing I can just keep it pushing like nothing ever happened. Like this person did not add on this much value to my life and where I needed to go. A lot of people, They want to believe they did all this shit by themselves. It's like an ego thing where it's like, nah, I didn't become this person because of X, Y, and Z. I'm not the person that I am without my brother. I'm not the person that I am without my siblings, my family. I'm not the person that I am without drinks after work. I don't know the names, and I did say this, but this is a random congratulations to the fact that someone who owns a podcast here got married. And the reason why I'm saying this is like, I guess we can transition over to the part where I'm very grateful about certain things. I probably would not be doing social media anymore if it wasn't for the podcast Drinks After Work. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I am hella grateful for them, because I was just an upcoming TikToker in Boston that made a lot of videos. Some of them were weird as hell. Some of them were impactful, where I talked about deep things, relationships. And they took the opportunity on me where it's like they decided to have me as a guest, where I'm not sure if a lot of people in their podcast even knew who I was, but they felt like they could create something pretty great if I was there. And it actually was a really good episode, which I was very surprised by. It was the first time I was in the type of scenery. They reached out to me. They were like, hey, come on here. And because of that relationship, it allowed me to know certain producers like Peter, other people that work within Big Night, like Joe. And these people became individuals that I could rely on to do what I do today. So if it wasn't for Drinks After Work, a chance to strive would not be a thing. So at times you have to give people their flowers. Like literally, if it's not for them, I'm not here, because they gave me this opportunity for me to get a little crack at this door. And I was like, oh, I want to be in there. So I reached out to them like, oh, when the episode went great, they had great feedback. We stayed in touch for a few after that. And when it was that time to bring in a new podcast, I am pretty sure they probably looked at the podcast we did together and was like, was this a person that's come to line a microphone? Can they communicate the things that they're trying to say very well? And maybe they got those things from there, and maybe they didn't. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to be grateful for Drinks After Work because they presented this opportunity. I don't know the exact names. I forget who's who. But one of you guys just got engaged, so I just wanted to say congratulations. If you don't see this, I may randomly just reach out and be like, yo, this is literally for you. But because of you guys, I am here today doing this at TD Garden. What the fuck? So I appreciate Drinks After Work, and congratulations on getting engaged. I watched the clip that you wrote about it, where it's like you said these things kind of scare you, not the person that you're with. You love your partner, and you're very sure about your future and where it's going to lead to with that person. But you were like, relationship, marriage, commitment, and stuff like that, at times it scares you, not because of the person, but just because of every little thing that it entails, and probably maybe your experiences growing up and stuff like that. But she was talking about how emotional it was, and I was like, yo, this is mad cute. I was like, I'm grateful that I know these people. But yeah, it was great. So without Drinks After Work, I literally would not be here. And I'll actually take the closing part of my podcast to focus on exactly that. The idea of being scared of commitment and being scared of moving forward with your future with somebody. I've had to deal with this, right? I went from a very, I don't even know what to call that relationship. It had its moments. I'll say that. I don't want to make it seem like I'm just shitting my partner because, well, my past partners and stuff like that, because there was a lot of happy moments, a lot of memories that were created, a lot of things that I got to learn. Even if they weren't the person to teach me these things, my experience with them is the reason why I learned these things. So to a certain extent, I'm still grateful for the fact that this happened. You know, like I had the past that I had. Would I take some back? I'm not gonna lie, probably one or two. But some of the people I came across, they are the reasons why I know a lot that I know about relationships. A lot of shit had to go wrong for me to be Captain Save-A-Ho and go and figure it out. You know, like Inspector Gadget real quick. I bet. What do I need to figure this out? But yeah, it was really on my door of shit. Whenever a problem popped up, I was thinking about how do I solve it? All right, plot the map. There's no formula for this. All right, let's try to extract this. Let's put this together. Do you see the A? Oh, I got like random shit like that. So I had to do a lot of soul searching, and I had to figure out why certain things aren't working. At times I figured out that it wasn't my fault, but there's advice that I probably could have offered to that person for them to be better. So it shows you what you can do or what you could have done that you can now apply to the next relationship that you have. So it's one of those things where it's like, it was a learning experience. You know, like, I'll just call my past relationships that. And now that I'm with the person that I am, at times it took a lot for me to be able to just push that to the side and just not care about the fact that things could go exactly how my past had went. Yeah, at times a lot of the things that I had experienced in my past relationships made it very hard for me to move on with the person that I'm with now. And it's not that I was unsure of this person, but it's the fact that I realized that love is something that can make you very blind to a lot of things. I was blinded to the way this. It's not like you were very blinded, but it's more so it's like there's a lot that you don't focus on that you should. When you're in love or when you think you're the honeymoon phase, where it's not necessarily love, there isn't really that strong of a foundation there, but a lot of the emotions are there. You're in honeymoon phase. You're focused on everything that's going right, and you don't take a moment to say, how do things work with this person when they're angry, when they're sad, when they're super happy? Am I as big of a part of their lives? Do they hang out with some of their friends more? It's all these little things that when you're in the honeymoon phase, you forget to think about it. You forget about the importance of these things and then you get to a certain point where you realize it's like everything you ignored, they're literally the crucial parts. They're the crucial conversations that needed to be had in order to maintain this relationship. But you chose to disregard all of that because, let's be honest, a lot of us just get so excited, like we get stuck to the moment. We get stuck in the moment where it's like, oh, everything is just rainbows and sunshines, and I don't want to think about anything else. But you have to, because the rainbow's gonna go away, sun's gonna come down. So it's like, what happens when everything that you're used to is no longer around? It's no longer present. It's not the situation you're dealing with now. What happens when y'all get in a huge argument and they don't want to talk, but you're someone that prioritizes communication, and you're like, hey, I really want us to talk, and they're like, I'm sorry, I'm just not that type of person. When something happens, I need time to myself to think about it. I had to take a step back. I can't just come to you and talk about it right away. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just two different communication styles. But you're not someone that was ready for this. In other words, like, you're not someone that was equipped with the right tools to be able to maintain the relationship when these things happened. Because for me, I was actually in a situation like this where the person didn't want to talk right away. And I didn't understand. And I'm like, why don't you just want to talk about this so you can get it out the way? And then when I forced certain conversations, I found out why they needed that little time. Because sometimes they scramble. Sometimes they don't have their thoughts together. And it becomes something that affects us as a couple. But if I knew why they needed the time, or if I just understood all these things ahead of time, I would have been able to plan properly for it. Where I'm just like, okay, I know you don't want to talk now, but let's at least remind each other that we love each other and we're not going to go anywhere. So that way, I don't think you taking a step away from me is you saying this isn't important to you. You don't care about it as much. But we don't need to have the whole entire conversation. Some reassurance first, and then we'll take the time and then come back when you've had enough time to process everything that you needed to, and then we get to have a conversation that's actually productive. A lot of the times, if you force a conversation with someone who is not someone who wants to talk about things right away, it's not going to be that productive because they didn't take the time to process their thoughts, understand how they truly feel about certain things. I'm someone who's very in tune with my emotions. When something happens, I know exactly how I feel about it. But a lot of people, they need the time to think. There's nothing wrong with that because there's a lot of things they do better than me. If you tell me to sit and think about a situation and try to find everything that was wrong with it or what I could do better, they may do a better job at that because they have a better skill, a better tool set to be able to extract things, to be able to break them down, analyzing it. So it's a little different. Everybody comes with their perks and everybody comes with their baggage. That's that person's perk. And at times when you do want to talk about something right away, it may feel like it's a baggage. Not that it is, but moments in relationships really determine how you look at certain things. In terms of like success and progression as overall, since we did kind of talk about that, one thing that I do want to say is like if you're stuck on choosing a path, I mentioned it slightly earlier, but I know something that I wanted to emphasize today. When you don't know what to choose, be grateful that you have so many options in front of you. A lot of people don't. A lot of people literally don't. Like some people's wishes is the fact that homeless shelters have more socks. Like that's the number one requested thing in homeless shelters. Socks. Something that we take for something that we take for a luxury. Where we don't really care about it. We just don't even think about it. Oh, I just put on socks. I can't even find one that's a matching pair. Or we get frustrated. Nah, I need. But there are people where it's just like, that just being a thing in their life is something that's very important to them. So a lot of the choices that you have ahead of you, somebody made some of those choices, some of those paths that you may not even choose. It might be somebody's dreams. So be very grateful for the fact that you have a lot happening in your life. A lot of people don't. A lot of people become stagnant because they can't grasp what's to come. They don't know where they're supposed to go. A lot of undergrads, people that are about to graduate, y'all know this feeling where it's like you're doing something, but you don't know if this is what you should be doing. Or at least that's the advice I would give when you don't know what to do at all. Just do something and hope that it's what you need. But if it's not, pivot. Just adjust how you look at things. Take what you can from this, apply it onto the next thing. Just keep it moving. But at times we have a lot of options and we get really upset at it. And I know I'm that person to do that, which is why I'm actually bringing this up. But just be grateful for the fact that you have so many chances to do so many different things. You have so many different options to be X, Y, and Z. And it's up to you to decide. Some of us don't have that power to choose. Some of us have nothing to choose. So don't be overwhelmed by the fact that you could do so much. I know it's hard to say this because I'm that person that gets overwhelmed when I have too much options in front of me, and I tend to have that. But I'm beginning to be a lot more grateful for those choices that I have, because I've been in positions where I didn't know what was next at all, and that's 10 times worse, in my opinion, than being overwhelmed by the countless opportunities that I could choose to follow. I know it's Thanksgiving, but I'm still going to end this off the exact same way for part 2, which is to tell you guys to constantly be grateful for the people that love you, the people that actually care about investing their all into you, and be grateful for yourself. I feel like a lot of the times we forget to love ourselves and we don't really understand the fact that we've gone through a lot and we have accomplished a lot. Whatever you made it through, that's something you accomplished. Like you were able to overcome this. That's an accomplishment, in my opinion. So instead of being heavily focused on all the bullshit you constantly have to deal with, the things you failed at, focus on what you've learned, what you've actually accomplished. At times when you're dealing with a lot, this woman needs some pants. What the we can keep that in there, but it is raining. It is cold. It is windy. And you have a jacket on to the point where no one can see your legs. Well, to the point where it's like you can't see no shorts. Like I'm talking about, like, if this is legs, right, and it starts here, you can see all of it. Bro, I don't understand how some of y'all legs is built, but maybe because I wasn't born here, not because I'm not white, but just because I wasn't born in Boston. I was actually born somewhere very high. I was born in Haiti. But yeah, maybe being raised here does something a little different to you, but I will never understand people that don't put nothing on. And your legs are just built to deal with that. I get a little breeze in my legs through sweats that are a little too thin. I am complaining. Some people just bare legs. Show off the legs, I guess. But my thing is, we'll still finish this off by saying, make sure you focus on those people that love you. Make sure you focus on the good that you've done instead of just beating yourself over the shit that you weren't able to do. What's in the past is in the past and you can't change it. What you can do is extract as much information as you can so that way moving forward, you're a better person to deal with whatever this may be. But don't kill yourself over something that you weren't able to do. Sometimes we may know something, but we're not disciplined enough to apply it. Or at times we have to go through these things to learn them. So be grateful for your development and where you are currently, and be thankful for the fact that there's a lot more bullshit to come that will aid your growth, that will literally not give you an option to be stagnant. So the future's bright. Be optimistic. Don't always focus on all the bullshit that's down the line. I've read this and recently learned it. At times, if you knew all the shit you had to deal with, at times you probably wouldn't have chosen this path. So at times, not being aware of everything, it's actually a good thing. But make sure you're someone who's constantly learning to be able to deal with everything. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. And I'm out. Peace.